get our seats, folks. Good evening, and welcome to the Reader's Bookstore and Cafe for another Thursday event. Tonight I thank our first reader, Nicole Parizeau, to have brought that little computer memory, because today is a sad day that I'm sure that the poetry will be redemptive of the sadness of this day, because this day, as you know, in 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And Nicole brought the notice here, and underneath it, there's a statement.
Your mouth should be closer to the mic, is the deal. It's on.
You mean that you can't hear me now? Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me that I need to raise my voice a bit. Okay. Yes, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968 today. That terrible assassination. And Nicole brought this notice of that, a reminder, and underneath a quote that I'm going to read. This quote said, and it's by Oscar Wilde, and it says, "A dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world." How apt. Nicole Parizeau is a writer in residence at the Sonoma Mountain Ranch Preservation Foundation and a 2013 Associate Artist at the Atlantic Center for the Arts with Carolyn Forche. Many of us know Carolyn's work. She's published in such journals as Folio, Poecology, and Written River. She'll be reading, as will Neely Tchaikovsky after her, for a half hour each, they will. So please welcome, she is originally from Canada, but she's been living here for many years. Please welcome Nicole Parizeau.
I don't know if that was an apology for being originally from Canada. I have been here for a very long time, and this is home. And please do tell me if you can't hear. Yes, Neely's telling me already.
Yes, that. That.
How's this? Good. Okay. Jack, thank you so much for this invitation and for your extraordinary warmth. What a warm person. What a wonderful man. And you in my life, and I hope it's going to be a long friendship. Thank you to Reader's Bookstore for Thursday at Readers. Thank you for the staff. Thank you for Friends of the Library, everyone who makes these evenings possible. Neely, I'm delighted to be here this evening with you. And thank you all, obviously a very discerning, intelligent audience. And having braved, I was going to say the weather, but it's been gorgeous. So thanks so much for being here. And the music you barely heard on that computer, because I didn't have speakers, was the great Otis Spann, who did a lot of work with Muddy Waters and his own, of course. And that was his tribute to Martin Luther King. And in addition to Dr. King, I'm going to be paying tribute to two other extraordinary people, two men whom we can remember today in close sympathy with Dr. King, each in his own way. And the first is the great Nigerian poet Chinua Achebe, who died 2 weeks ago today. It's quite a date. And if you've not read Things Fall Apart, or if you have not read his rebuttal to Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, called An Image of Africa, it's required reading. They are extraordinary. And in his very beautiful words, I will start. The first shot. That lone rifle shot, anonymous in the dark, striding chest high through a nervous suburb, at the break of our season of thunders, will yet steep its flight and lodge more firmly than the greater noises ahead in the forehead of memory. Chinua Achebe. And since we're in Africa, 3 small ones for and from Africa. Small famines. "Take me to America," said the boy from Dakar, striking at his spit with a stick in the sand, and reflected in his shining eye was the job, the dough, the fame to go with it. Reflected in his shining eye was me. Zambezi fisherman. "The arc of droplets from your net of sedges arches under tension, slicing the sunrise, which releases a bloom up, up, to augur another steaming day on which droplets will evaporate from your snapped sedge net. Sunlight, its only bounty, which in turn undoes me." This is for Rwanda, specifically 1994 Rwanda. Eruption in the Virunga. Inhalation snags on shards of fear, and language is incompetent, tepid as the white asparagus that grows deprived of sun like veal. So time just calves away like ice, molecularly changed, but impotent to go where this cannot be happening, this chronicle at water's edge, this appetite. Nauseated with self-doubt, Mount Karisimbi eats her young, the only thing she knows to do to shield them from this menu of stigmata. Anecdote only, but I must share that we attended church in Zambia as was required and as we were happy to do because the music was out of this world and because it was the villagers' invitation. In order to do so, the women had to wear skirts, and I was traveling in pants because we were working hard, and so we had been given pieces of fabric and were taught how to tie them, cinch them at the waist, over the pants, over the sneakers, and we were trying to figure out the correct way of saying them, and we kept saying Sisinga, Sisinga. It's essentially spelled Sisinga, and the gentleman who was accompanying us said, no, 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 no. He said, it's Chichinga, like Chicago. I've learned that Miami International Airport is not a good herald of what can be good about Florida. And I've learned that I have loved some things about Florida. I've just come back having been there for the first time. So a few for Florida. Iguana on a Key West tombstone. Silhouette of Napoleon's hat. He rests on Edith Webster sorely missed. Before launching, free like Christ or the diver at my approach. I'm thrilled when he floats to the scrub pond and bounces. Angle of repose. You see a moon jelly suspended in the gulf, its tender bell half filled and listing with an unexpected ballast of oil decanted from the sea around it. You're glad, at a time like this, that the jelly has no heart. Morning on Turnbull Bay. Every palmetto outside my window is raised in alarm, surrendering, I suppose, in a private and atavistic war in which we have no part. It must be that, for I hold no malice and have no gun. I don't know if you know what a Baton Rouge lichen is. It can occupy a little piece of a tree or an entire tree, but it's exquisite and very, very special. Baton Rouge lichen. And every 7th tree or so, a lichen welt, bubonic red, an errant and amoebic thing, announces to the myrtle woods its heart. Many of us here have parents who... Many of us here have parents. When it does not increase. What happens to me here underwater has nothing in common with what you see from shore. We all drown distorted by surface tension. At depth, the moon rises like ice. Love is like the moon, lunar Maria. It does not increase, it decreases. Sea of tranquility, sea of crisis. I see that it's time to tap at recent wounds, assess what's scarred over sufficiently to hold our weight. Every day I vow to call you. It's easy, like wholesale butchery. I sway between balm and venom on the continuum of love, and you groom your wreath perversely, laying skeletal coral on top of the living. There are two of us walking this plank, each to her own ocean. But there is only one ocean, so we warm and re-warm the surface of love till the gyres and tides evaporate and only the moonlit salt remains. With that, I swim to shore and we wait to cure, as if this long storm has all been a fantastic misunderstanding. I need to tell you something. Longing. The sun also rises like ice, breaking free of the bottom only to collide with the glass ceiling of the universe and turn back. At sea, she runs at me. Together we sail through the window and begin to fall, a galleon losing wind, fighting to stay the course. Alone, dying in fog at sea. No coffin but the earliest music of remembered sailors. No shroud but the shawl that trails after bleak November. A kind of freedom. When a mind emerges from confinement, it isn't as a fluid thing, but in jerks, struggling with the viscosity of its still wet wings. Of all the hushings, train in the station sigh of a kettle when you lift it from the burner, compassion of a ticking clock for the newly transplanted heart, breeze, which is the natural voice of the palmetto forest, alpenglow of a halogen bulb in the seconds before it sleeps, migration of maple seeds to the hem of a new grave. You heard Jack say that I write on Sonoma Mountain at a foundation that was recently formed to protect the top of the mountain. And my husband is an ecologist on that piece of property, and I visit a lot. And when I stay, I write. And I have a lot of moments. These are moments from Sonoma Mountain. Optometry. In 4 of the harvestman webs on the ceiling, a pepper-ground hatchling of spiders stares out to the new compound world. I don't know if you've ever seen hatchlings, spiderlings in a web. It's an extraordinary experience. There are hundreds of them in the corner, and they're almost transparent, and they're microscopic, so all you see are pairs, little twin dots, like a constellation of black eyes. It's fantastic. Hi. Come and have a seat. Hi. No plot, just the light on the acre, the ozone of a storm, the vigilance of seed, the ballad of a cowlick, the texture of a verb, the hiss of snow on cypress, the curl of a thermal, the tabula rasa of a little boy's nape. I lisped until I was 23 years old, and at that time I was singing, and I would sing a lot of standards. Lincoln and I were just talking about it. And so I would sing things like, a kith, it doth the kith, a thigh, it doth the thigh. So I look at a line like, the hith of snow on cypress, and I think about how far I've come. Winter spill. Underbrush snaps in California laurel, where cattle emerge from the copse in hiccups, streaming into the hoarfrost and fanning across the meadow to settle in a Jurassic freeze, untroubled, exploiting the sweet window between crepuscular predators and ahead of the midday thaw. Crunch. We are saddened by the murder of Henri, the mantis, found early this morning, chopped in two by the casement window we closed in the night. Oh. Spider in the centerpiece. It takes 8 sea legs to weather the epiphytic motion of a fan-kissed orchid from whose maw on the table I glimpse one tiny foot and the promise of more. I dedicate this to the one person in this room who is battling invasive species. Siren grass. Medusa head stalks lean like cold, blonde, alien bedsheets airing on the hill. Ambrosia. In the arid, long-held breath of July, the eaves are already ticking with warmth as we breakfast on the porch to the fizzle of wasps, while over the tepid circuitry of new air drifts the murmuration of a northern house wren, a tiny, demented woman reciting a story in the toyon bush, while the quiet fuck, fuck, fuck of chickens floats to us from the coop where the Black Star Cross and her little bantam escort kick ecstatically for grubs as they, too, break fast. Leaving the mountain. Irish rosaries. In the milk bus passing through Cork, I sit opposite the 2 good women in black, adoring their beads over and over and over and lamenting the pregnant girl on the sidewalk, the whore. Ellis Island. The man offers up his transit papers at the slightest brush of a sleeve. Already he has shown it to a staircase banister and to the woman who mops between feet. The destination tag, pinned to his coat, reads, Queens, New York. What's your livelihood? The inspector asks. What did you do in Arnhem? I'm a builder. Fences? Asked the translator. Cathedrals, he says. I wonder, where is the art from post-war Berlin, the paintings and plays that reflect the great medicine that came of the Great War, the technology that saved lives, freeing the maimed, not to die, but to stumble blindly under the gate at Brandenburg? I wonder, I try to fathom the hanging trees, the ones from which they hanged them, and the ones from which they threatened to. I wonder how Theodicy sleeps at night when, after a bombing, the shoes. The Great Demers, Grate, like a sidewalk grate. I, too, sleep poorly, not from the effort of lancing the sidewalk to cradle the homeless over the steam that vents them to sleep, but because I rust and abrade and worry that my city will start to despise me. third remarkable man I'd like to honor is Cesar Chavez, whose birthday was Sunday. You're here. This was written in his honor. The Weevil's Waltz. Here, from the leaf curl of grapevines in August, La Migra is running on rumors and tips that the season is on, and gabachos are hiring for back-breaking harvest of Sauvignon Blanc for the tables of diners where migrants bust dishes to pay for the meals of the ones who pick grapes with a powder of pesticide floating on air that is crisp with the snap of the cold that broke free of the heat that preceded it during the crossing. It isn't a crime to be here, just the crossing is criminal. All to send money for mothers and cousins, abuelas and sons who are harvesting sorghum and breaking their backs under sun that reminds them of fathers and sons, without whom they are coping, as weevils like me race them all to the harvest that promises everything good for the offspring who already pick with us, bust with us, or consume their own legacy here in the land of the free.
Bravo, bravo.
Corvette from Nevada. It was green like iguanas, long like un puente, fast as the lightning over Juarez. It passed through town just yesterday, right before his eyes. I also wonder this. What passes for gain in the brain of the boy from Las Fuentes, who swims the frontera every dusk to make it to night school, to study like blazes, to join the border patrol? True. I say this to myself. 1. Lean in. Know the worm for what it does and not by what the hook might say. Understand the agitators, those who practice alchemy on soils and souls beneath the surface, making pockets for our roots' migration through a boulevard of dreams. 2. Be disturbed. Blister with an indignation. Be the sulfur on a match. Understand the role of outrage beating sheets against her teeth in thick despair until the psalms of little shrieks subside because the wanton music of an orchestra prevails. 3. Think again. Pay attention to the rage that squeezes up in times of pain. Understand that fissures driven in the rock are there to ease the caustic climb from molten core through cooling chambers of the heart, an absolution by degrees from which to summit whole. 4. Look no further. Reconsider limitations chafing at the risks of promise. Understand the alchemy of music struck like sulfur tips against a dream. Commit like thinkers coursing down a boulevard in sheets of magma teething on the rock. I mean to say, bend your eyes from a catastrophe of the heart to the sand that makes the pearl. For Jeff, complete honesty in my husband's arms comes closest, possibly, to the pillow state of the cloud leopard. And I leave you, this went fast, with Constantinople. The poets have vanished from the city. We don't know why. Patrolling the spine of our fortifications, we spy a dusting in the distance of what could be the dawn or the twilight, the approach or the retreat, the rise or the fall of the infidel poets. Then a quiver below us of what could be a small necrosis of the soul, or the shiver of a tambourine laid on the ground inside these walls to alert us that the poets are tunneling back in our direction. Thank you so much.